How do you do? So today is a special day, and that's why the orange color, for the reason that Reason 14 is out, and it is actually bringing a lot of workflow improvement. So that's why it's a special interest for myself, and that's why I took and created a project from scratch with Reason 14 to really see that how these new features actually fit in and how do they benefit when creating music and working with Reason. This is not a paid video. However, there is a link below. If you want to subscribe to Reason, you get 20% off. So everything what I say here are my own opinions and how I feel when using the tool, when creating the music, and also, you know, how I feel that the features will support that in the respect of creating song with Reason. So with further ado, let's get going with Reason 14 and the new features it introduces. Of course, you may have seen already a few videos about Reason 14 and what are the new improved things regarding on the workflow. Let's go through those, what it brings in that respect, and so that you'll get familiar with these features. I did the whole track with Reason 14. That was highlighted in the beginning of it, and I have to say that these improvements that they have made has made life a bit more easy with Reason to use specifically with external synthesizers, because of like, for example, let's take this Minimoog. So now I can actually have a folder track in which I have my MIDI track that sends MIDI out to the Minimoog, and then I have an audio track in the same folder where it basically comes together. The audio comes back to and then if I click there, I immediately see the device here. So now when I have the rack open, I can, of course, like before, I'm able to open and close the rack. But this single column model is actually pretty awesome, because now depending on where I am at, it will actually bring only those devices. So I immediately see the MIDI out, that it goes to my Minimoog. It goes there correctly, and then you know how the audio comes in from input 9 as a mono signal, and so that's one excellent improvement in my eyes. So the folder tracks, there can be folders within folders, as you can see in this bass track specifically. So okay, let's actually take from here let's do a small kind of a small I'll put the DAW audio to silence it so that it doesn't run over me. So let's go with this one. And now, for example, like if I'm here in the audio track, I can solo so that only the bass now comes. And then now basically if I also go into the mixer, you see that you know, the only one that is playing is actually the bass track. And so this basically, which is a kind of a track view here, or track panel, it's similar what you have seen in few other DAWs as a inspector. So whenever you have the track selected, and okay, let's pause this. So whenever you have the track selected, you see, you know, what's in it. And of course now also with this new rack that can float on top, and you can close and open it, you have a single column view, and it will only display the devices that you have in the rack. So so you see all them, and they are in the same order that I have them here. And if I actually change an order here, it will also change the order in a rack. And also it does automatically change the routing, so you don't need to kind of the routing gets changed. So the flow of signal, the signal flow is always from top to down. So similarly as it is here. So depending on in which order you have your devices here, they will be by default routed like that into the rack as well. So that's one really interesting improvement. And in general, this is actually quite nice to navigate, so you can easily go into a plugin and then, you know, tweak the parameters of it. You could also open it. You can open the rack from the plugin. Sorry, the plugin from here, so you can easily get into that and tweak it. So here you actually can also load presets if you have some. So you can go. I don't have any presets for this device here, but if you would have some recent device, then of course you would see a set of presets that are defined. Or if you had stored your own presets for that device, then you would see them as well. Anyway, that's the rack view. So three things that are kind of changed. One thing is that you have folders. Second is that you have the track panel, and then third one is that you know your rack is single column, and it will highlight what you have in this case. If I have this bus where I have my SSL, and it will sum two different pianos into it. It will basically then, you know, you will see that. But if I go into my second piano, which is a incomplete control, I see that I have here the, you know, the device itself, and then I can go and tweak the parameters of it. Let's go somewhere where I have maybe more stuff, maybe not there, but let's see how is the OBX. Yeah, so here, for example, I have a kickstart, ozone imager, and then a compressor, and then of course if I look into here, I have done some routings regarding on, you know, sidechain. So I will bring to kickstart. I will bring actually the kick in, so that the synthesizer will duck. And now, of course, if I would like to go and see that, you know, how is it, then I can go out from the single view. I can of course scroll here to see that, okay, where does it come from? But I can also make this a lot wider. So I can make it wide as my screen. And then I can go and see that, you know, where do I get the kick? Here I have my kick. So I have the parallel out coming from here, and then it goes as sidechain in the plugin over there. I have done actually also other routings here, and that's something that I will do an extra video about, how to use Reason 14 with external gear. So that will be an additional video that I will do as a series of Reason 14 videos, is that how to use external mixer class A with summing mixer, which I have here. You don't see it, but I have here a Chandler mini rack mixer that basically can sum 16 channels. So you see all these 16 channels mapped here from different buses. But yeah, I don't go to that yet. I have a separate video of that for you guys to show that how to work with the external gear with Reason 14. And so yeah, but then if I want to go to a single mode, I just basically go here, and then I can flip it back, and I'm there where I started. So I can go from a single column to a wider and back, and that's also pretty convenient. Yeah, what else is new? Let's look on that part. So we already covered basically this single track approach, which I think it's great, because previously when I worked in the Reason, because I'm more from Ableton world, but now basically I was really engaged with Reason 14 when this track view came along, because then it's much easier to navigate, work with your plugins, work with your project in general, because you have these folders. So when you don't need to see things like, you can then just collapse all the folders and you know, they are gone. you do see that where you have the action here. So as you see from the pianos, that I have one that is going all the way, like from like, let's close this rack. And so you see where the action is from the folder track. When you open it up, you see that, okay, I have there the audio, and then the audio is still going all the way, but then I have these MIDI clips here. And then I can go and work with those. Then of course, if I would move these MIDI clips around, then you can see that it will also update the folder track accordingly, so I can see where I have action within the folder. So I don't need to necessarily open up the folder, but anyway, I can do that as well. Then another thing is that that with the MIDI part, what they introduced is that now you can actually, you don't need to like do a duplicate. You can actually also do a loop. So you can loop this and as many times as you need in order to kind of get it as long as you want. So it will loop the MIDI you want, but you can also play around with offsets and loop length. So where does it start and so on and so forth. So you can do quite crazy things with it. And then of course you can just adjust it as lengthy as needed. But then of course you can also just basically, you know, like if I have like like just one bar more, or then you can just of course do as previously to do that. And other thing is that what else has changed is that you can do the same for the automation lane as well. So now I have just the automation here at the end, but if I would like to loop this automation, okay, sorry, I didn't loop it. If I would like to loop it, I can loop it. So now I can basically then bring the automation as well. So I can loop automation, I can loop MIDIs, I can actually loop also the audio if needed. So that's something that is kind of bringing it more convenient to edit things. And so yeah, so that's that. Then there is still one or two other new things within Reason 14. One is that if I put this now into an edit mode, and let's scale it a bit so that you see that I have here the notes. You can actually now also bring in easily notes here. So you just double click on the cell and you don't need to change the mode. If you want to bring in notes, you just double click on where you want to place it, and then of course you can also move around and get feedback and whatnot. But another thing is that also previously you needed to first click the note before you were able to stretch the length, but now you just go into the end of the note and then you can just drag it, and then it immediately kind of reflects to the note length. And of course here I have quantized it like 16 notes, but then of course it could be also like you know, not quantized, and of course that works with any note. So if I have here, if I select all these and then I do like for the one, I can actually then of course for chords I can also do like multiple things, like multiple notes at the same time, and so, or I could just basically, you know, shorten this for some reason. But yeah, so that's basically you know, the edit features. There is also, regarding on this looping, there is a lot of controls that you have there, that how does it loop, and so something to you to check. So there is plenty of that. Actually, one thing also that I noticed, that when you have this, let's go to here, let's have a rack. This is a simple rack for the piano, but anyway, here you have different options for the rack. So you can also change this back to the old behavior if you want. So if you are so used to it, you can actually go into that, and then basically you are in the kind of region 13 in that respect. However, when I did the track and I played around with it, I wouldn't go back, because the only part when I need multiple columns and not like is that when I do some routing like I have done here. So that's the only part where I need this view in my eyes. So I really appreciate this single column approach and track approach, so that whenever I click, I can easily see the what do I have there, how is it and what does it do and what not, so I can see and test things easily and quickly, and tweak parameters quickly as well. So yeah, that's basically almost all. One thing that they also added is a new device in region 14, which is a let's go there. So which is basically this Reverb Station. So this is a revamped reverb with quite a lot of programmability that you can do, and you have some quick wins here that you can tweak the parameters. Of course, now it's a good time to show that if I open up here, what kind of configurations I had. Like I could select now from here a preset that I could use. So I can easily let's enable this device, but I'll do a demo. So before that, I'll just show this, so that now I have the device enabled, so I can then go and change the preset and select something that I feel is great for my instrument, and that's it. Yeah, so let's mute that for a while, and let's go here. Let's start to loop that, and so that now basically when I'm looping it, I pretty much have the let's actually do also so that I have this as a solo. So you only hear the Juno X playing this this lead part, and which with its own effects. So okay, let's go there. Let's see, do I have multiple solos now going on somewhere? No, it should be okay. Yeah, let's see. Oh, maybe I yeah, let's see. Then let's solo this one. Why are you? Of course. Oh, now it's okay. Sorry, I was not just in it. So yeah, I managed to kind of off it. Sorry about that. Anyway, so now basically when I'm listening, I'm just hearing now basically the effects from Juno. But let's pause and or let's do so that I'll play a bit of it. Like now it's with Juno effects. So I have a bit of a chorus and things like there, but then I take these effects away. So there was some delay, reverb and chorus, and then I'll just put and engage this Reverb Station, and let's play around with certain features. This is just my settings, and to start with, as you can see and hopefully hear, it's pretty versatile in that respect. Of course, you can also set the things from here, so you can select whatever you want, plate or echo reverb or granular or so on and so forth. So that's basically it with Reason 14. A lot of improvements specifically for the workflow. And then as a bonus, a new Reverb Station plugin that is actually pretty awesome. And you should definitely try it out and play around. By the way, also, if you wanna, and if you got interested on Reason, there is a link below where you can actually go and get Reason for 20% off. So I have a link in the description that gives you 20% off for the Reason 14 subscriptions if you are kind of considering jumping in and testing it out and trying it out. So yeah. All right, so that's Reason 14, and as you can see, they are not standing still, and they are improving Reason a lot. And I really like the focus what they have had in this release with the workflow improvements and track focused approach of creating music. There is actually many things in Reason that you can do non-linear ways of working or linear ways of working, and a few other things. I will also dive in few other sequel videos regarding on Reason 14, like how to use that with outboard gear, specifically with, like, for example, a summing mixer, or then with your synthesizers, also with MIDI, that you know how to make it so that you can get all your gears what you have around you synchronized with MIDI most easily. And you don't need nothing, like if you are in a Mac, I'm not talking about Windows now because I'm having a Mac, so you will also see that how in a Mac you can do things in a very simple way so that you get all your synthesizers synchronized with Reason like this. But anyway, that will be the next videos coming out soonish after this launch video. Hopefully you liked it, and by the way, yes, remember to subscribe to my channel, like the video if it was great, and also leave comments below. Happy to answer those. Thanks for watching. Till the next time.